Nerdrotic.com.
When the Season 2 finale of The Mandalorian aired on December 18th, 2020, Luke Skywalker made his triumphant return, cutting his way through dark troopers like butter, all to save 3 women, Baby Yoda, and his babysitter, culminating in an emotional scene as the babysitter takes off his helmet to say goodbye to little Baby Yoda before he goes off with Luke Skywalker to begin his Jedi training. Fans rejoiced. Had Disney Star Wars turned the corner and finally cracked the code to George Lucas's Star Wars? Or was it all smoke and mirrors? Well, shortly after that, Gina Carano was fired for posting a prophetic and now very accurate Instagram post. Pedro Pascal, the voice actor for The Mandalorian, wasn't fired for posting a meme calling half the country the bad guys from WW2. Then, the abomination Boba Fett was released, followed by the absolute disaster that was Obi-Wan Kenobi, which required Disney Star Wars to reach into their old 2018 bag of tricks and preemptively attack and blame the fans for what they knew was simply a very bad TV show. Along with all this, we had 2 years of announcements, delays, and outright cancellations. And despite all this, Kathleen Kennedy still has a job, the sole woman responsible for taking one of the most profitable and greatest intellectual properties of all time and turning it into a category on a streaming service.
I sort of moved that treasure trove of stories and various things to Kathy, and I have complete confidence that she's going to take them and make great movies.
Oh, the deception! The betrayal, man, you deceived me!
And I'm not covering the half of it, and if that wasn't hilarious and dumb enough, I give you The Mandalorian Season 3, which is nothing more than a bunch of deleted video game cutscenes with dialogue slightly less complex than your average late 70s Saturday morning cartoon.
Shots fired!
Season 1 of The Mandalorian arguably at least had some structure and narrative. Season 2, again, arguably had its moments, but it mostly relied on cute little Baby Yoda and a lot of cameos. Let's be real, talking about Disney Star Wars at this point is well beyond an autopsy. I would equate it closer to digging up a corpse to get some DNA. All to prove that Star Wars didn't die, it was murdered. Yes, this review is for posterity, and so future generations can know without question that the murderer was Kathleen Kennedy and her accomplices were the story group and everyone else at Disney Lucasfilm, just in case you still had any doubts. So join me, you over 718,000 beautiful people out there and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet, and let's get stupid. The Mandalorian Season 3 is bad, and I mean Obi-Wan Kenobi bad. Mando Season 3 opens up with the armorer pounding and pounding away, oops, that one went flat again, on a little helmet that everyone assumes is for little Baby Yoda, but no, it's for a child Mandalorian, which seems like a giant waste of time because he's gonna outgrow it in a year. But maybe not, because right before she places the clearly 3D printed helmet on the little kid's head, they get attacked by a giant dinosaur alligator, which automatically makes me think of a couple of things. The first being the infamous whiteboard from the Lucasfilm story group that had diversity on it twice, and dinosaurs, because that's what Star Wars is synonymous with.
This is the way.
This is the way.
And an unfortunate and horrific attack at Disney World. Bad taste, Disney. And at this point, you have to question the average intelligence of, well, the Lucasfilm story group and the Mandalorians, because after shooting the dinosaur alligator to no avail, they decide to use ropes. But not to worry, because the Mandalorian flies in to save the day. But I still have some questions now. I know this is their super secret hideout, and maybe it's the only place they could go, but didn't this race of warriors, I don't know, send some people out to scout out any possible dangers?
This is the way.
Okay, to be fair, maybe it's just a one-time occurrence. So Din Djarin shows up with Baby Yoda. Wait a minute, hang on. The last time we saw those two together in The Mandalorian, Din Djarin was handing little Baby Yoda off to a complete stranger. Now, of course, you had to go and watch a completely different show, Boba Fett, to learn that Luke Skywalker is the same asshole he's going to be in The Last Jedi and basically lets Baby Yoda f off. So much so he doesn't even give him a ride back. But imagine not watching Boba Fett. You'd be pretty confused, but better off. So Din Djarin basically has the same conversation with the armorer he just had a few minutes prior in the previously on. The armorer, who doesn't change her voice cadence for the entirety of this series, gives us her worst Alec Guinness impression and tells him he needs to go take a bath so he can continue not taking off his helmet and stay in the club. But not so fast. Knock off Boba Fett and knock off Yoda have to go back to Navarro to say hi to Carl Carol Weathers to find and somehow repair IG-11, who blew himself up in the previous season, and to let us know Gina Carano's been written off the show. And then they get into a fight and kill some pirates who want to have a drink at a school. Think I'm kidding?
Come, join us for a drink.
Let's continue this conversation back in my office. This is a school.
Okay.
And you guessed it, they managed to put back together the IG-11 who blew himself to atoms in the previous season. But unfortunately, he reverted back to his old programming, so they need to go on yet another side quest to find a memory chip. On the way out, they get into another fight with the pirates, and listen, I'm all for practical effects, but this is ridiculous. With the millions of dollars that Disney has at its disposal, at least for now, you'd expect something a little better than Sid and Marty Krofft's HR Puffin stuff. Ooh, I'm dating myself right there. So Oberyn Martell and 90% of Disney Star Wars marketing go on a side quest from their other side quest to go visit Bo-Katan, so she can assist him in taking his bath so he can continue keeping his helmet on and stay in the club. She says no, and the Red Viper and his little pop Vinyl go back on their original side quest. And they go back to Tatooine because it's been so long since we've been there to go see the late 70s sitcom character. The special guest star from Alice tells them they still can't find the memory chip for IG-11 due to supply chain issues. What, is the New Republic run by the Biden administration?
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
But no big deal because she just so happens to have another character from the original trilogy, R5-D4, and I think it's long overdue we revise this a long time ago in a really small galaxy far, far away. Now that this task is complete, Stuntman number 1 and his puppet could go back to their original quest, which is going back to Mandalore to take a bath. Joel and Ellie head down into the mines of Mandalore where they fight off some Morlocks. Stuntman number 2 seems to have had a bit of a problem with them, especially with that very heavy darksaber. Then he gets caught and trapped by a robot that I'm just gonna call Old One-Eye. In a scene that displays the room temperature intellect of Boba Fett, he sends baby Frank Oz back up through the mines, back to the ship to go back to Bo-Katan's planet to ask her for help, all while not being able to talk, so she can get in her ship to go to Mandalore to go down to the mines, fight off the Morlocks much easier, to save Din Djarin from Old One-Eye while wielding the darksaber much better than he does. Well, Mr. Mean Star Wars hater, maybe she had more time training with it. Well, what the hell has Joel been doing the last 2 years?
You are a fool.
All this so Stuntman number 3 could go down, slip in the bath, practically drown, and get saved by Bo-Katan again. Never mind that earlier in the episode, it was established that he could seal his helmet and still breathe. Obviously, Maxwell Lord can't remove his helmet, so Bo-Katan can't give him any CPR. I guess that drowning thing just worked itself out. So Starbuck, the voice actor Pedro Pascal, and Disney's cash cow head back to Bo-Katan's planet. It's at this point in the episode Disney Analytics dictate that they need an action scene, so they're randomly attacked by some TIE fighters who bomb the shit out of Bo-Katan's castle. So the only thing left to do is go back to the super secret hideout of the Mandalorians. And if all of that bland, task-oriented series of events masquerading as a plot was too much for you, it's okay. It looks like Jon Favreau, the Lucasfilm Story Group, and Disney Analytics has decided it's time for you to take a long nap, because in this almost hour-long episode of the Mandalorian at the 9-minute and 47 mark, it turns into a completely different show, featuring Dr. Pershing and some dude from season 2. Hey, QBG. What's up?
Yeah, that's actually a chick.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I Googled it.
thanks.
I think she's a
My bad. Some lady from season 2. Because your time is valuable and life is short, I'm going to get through this next 35 minutes of this episode as briefly as possible. Dr. Pershing and some lady whose name I can't be bothered to remember from season 2 are in an Empire conversion camp. It seems to be working with Dr. Pershing, who wants to do good for the New Republic, and the lady whose name I can't be bothered to remember still works for Moff Gideon. She befriends Dr. Pershing. They take long, slow walks through Coruscant, eating space ice cream. We have long, slow conversations around a table, talking about biscuits. You figure out after 5 minutes that she is setting Dr. Pershing up, but we still have 30 minutes to go, so we get to see very slowly how mundane Dr. Pershing's life is. We have more slow walks down hallways, more slow conversations, another slow walk down a corridor, and an entire trip on a train, which all ends in the inevitable double cross. And just in case you didn't know it was a trap, after Dr. Pershing was caught and they're preparing to torture him, he tells a Mon Calamari it's a trap.
You don't understand. She brought me there. It was a trap.
And we learn two things. First, The New Republic is as dumb as the Mandalorians, and 2, they're potentially evil. Apparently, the Empire conversion camp doesn't have any security, and the reprogrammed Mind Flayer device that they're using to torture Dr. Pershing is old Empire technology when they established early on in the episode that they were ditching all old Empire technology, which is stupid to begin with. Meanwhile, back at the super secret Mandalorian hideout, what was supposed to be Din Djarin's big moment of redemption because he took a bath and now he can keep his helmet on ends up being Bo-Katan's, because when she saved him, she took a bath too, and now she can keep her helmet on and be in the club. We're 3 episodes in, and I have no idea what this show is about. Anyways, we're back on Mando Beach, where Boba Fett 2.0's kid has to train against the spawn of Yoda's one-night stand in Coruscant. And in a scene where this show tries to out-cringe Obi-Wan Kenobi, you remember when little baby Leia outran full-grown adults? Disney's little money-printing machine beats Boba Fett 2.0's kid.
Begin! 3 points.
Who immediately gets abducted by a space pterodactyl.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser! Good.
At this point, just in case there was any question, the Mandalorians are complete morons. This mighty warrior race, cult, sect, whatever the hell they are, didn't think to scout the beach or maybe the waters close to it, didn't put up a lookout tower or 2 or any scanning devices. It's not like you didn't just get attacked by a giant alligator. Where was I? Oh yeah, Boba Fett 2.0's kid gets abducted by a space pterodactyl and the Mandalorians pursue with their jetpacks, which immediately run out of fuel, and this is where we learn that attacks like this happen all the time.
I'm out of fuel. It always gets away.
And then the show turns into a series of and thens. Bo-Katan gets into her ship,
And then,
flies to the lair,
And then...
flies back from the lair,
and then,
gets out of her ship,
and then,
tells the Mandalorians she knows where the kid is, but she doesn't have him.
and then,
She girl bosses a hunting party to go back to the lair to save the kid she just abandoned.
and then,
They pack some lunches and hopefully some extra fuel and finally go out to the lair.
and then.
The completely unconcerned armorer decides to monologue to Baby Yoda while she's making him a breastplate. Because Disney Star Wars analytics dictate it's time for some nostalgia, little Baby Yoda has an Order 66 flashback. Remember Order 66? Remember the prequels? From the same company who disrespected them with their very first line of dialogue from The Force Awakens.
This will begin to make things right.
And then the recipient of Yoda's child support payments is saved by Jar Jar Jedi. And then we're back at the present, and the Mandalorians finally make it out to the Space Pterodactyl's lair and decide to eat dinner.
What the fuck is this?
That's right. They build a fire and decide to eat dinner separately because they can't take their helmets off in front of each other. In the meantime, Boba Fett 2.0's kid has been dinner 10 times over by now. The next morning, after a hearty breakfast and possibly some yoga, the Mandalorians finally decide to save the kid. And then Lucasfilm's monster regurgitates the child. There's gotta be a message in there somewhere. And then there's a big battle, and Eddie from Buffy the Vampire Slayer saves Boba Fett 2.0's son. And then, of course, Bo-Katan gets the credit. And then the girl bosses have a little conversation about the mythosaur Bo-Katan saw while she took a bath. But now it's time to return to Galaxy's Edge because the pirates really want to have that drink at a school. Apollo Creed asks for help from some X-Wing pilot I can't be bothered to remember the name of from the New Republic, and the X-Wing pilot decides to deliver the message in person to Tim Meadows.
You don't want no part of this shit.
And that was only after being advised by the lady from the Empire conversion program who I can't bother to remember the name of. So the X-Wing pilot decides to enlist the help of the Mandalorians at their super secret hideout, all while Galaxy's Edge is getting raped and pillaged. And yes, the Mandalorians have to sit down and have a good think about it, all while Galaxy's Edge is getting bombed to shit. And look, the pirates got to have their drink in a school. According to Disney Star Wars analytics, it's time for another battle. My favorite part is when Girl Boss Armor totally slays 5 pirates with a hammer and some tongs. And of course, it's a good idea for the voice actor Pedro Pascal to bring cute little Baby Yoda with him to a dogfight. The Mandalorians win, and now they're gonna live right next to Galaxy's Edge because they had to abandon their super secret base because the X-Wing pilot saw it and he unintentionally saved all of their lives. Oh, and we also find out that Moff Gideon escaped and the Mandalorians are going to get blamed. But it wouldn't be Disney Star Wars without one more Girl Boss moment. Girl Boss Armorer talks to Girl Boss Bo-Katan and allows her to remove her helmet. Pedro Pascal must be pissed because she walks in both worlds and has teats. And now, after 5 episodes of season 3, and there's only 3 left, we finally know what this show is about. The Woman-DeLorean. Dear viewer, you're probably asking yourself at this point, maybe this is where the series finally gets its feet under it, because it usually takes an 8-episode season, 5 episodes to get going. The answer is a definitive no. It's just a lot more bland, task-oriented series of events masquerading as a plot. But we do find out what happened to the rest of the Mandalorians who stole all the stuff Bo-Katan stole. You guessed it, the episode opens up with another girl boss. This time it's a squid head or a corn, and the Mandalorians are there to break up her and her Mon Calamari manzel in distress. And what have the other Mandalorians been doing all this time? Well, guarding Planet Epcot Center, ruled by Jack Black and Lizzo.
That's no moon.
Bo-Katan and her submissive, the voice actor Pedro Pascal, want to talk to the other Mandalorians, and because you're a smart viewer, you guessed it again, they have to go through, and you can say it with me, a bland, task-oriented series of events masquerading as a plot to pad the watch minutes for Disney+. Of course, when we meet Jack Black and Lizzo, they're eating.
I like to eat. Is that such a crime?
And apparently, they are the democratically elected royals of Planet Epcot. The society is a direct democracy that's completely reliant on reprogrammed droids, which includes battle droids, who are malfunctioning, so Bo-Katan and the Gimp's task is to find out why. Once again, Disney Analytics has dictated it's time for some nostalgia, possibly outside of Star Wars, so we meet Christopher Lloyd, who oversees all the droids and says he can't simply turn them off because the citizens voted against it. And he's totally not going to be the bad guy of this story.
This is going nowhere.
Then Bo-Katan and her boy toy visit some Ugnaughts.
Yeah, remember Alex? Remember?
Then they go talk to some battle droids.
Oh, I remember.
Disney Analytics has commanded that there be a little skirmish within this nostalgia review. Okay, back to the nostalgia. Then they go to a droid bar where they are clearly not welcome or expected, and Beta Fett says this.
I don't think they get many of our kind here.
Bo-Katan and her puppy find out that it has something to do with the droid juice. And I'm not kidding, it's droid juice. Eventually, Bo-Katan and Din Djarin find out from body positivity character that it's nanobots in the droid juice. You want to know how? Someone conveniently wrote out everything they needed to know. And wouldn't you know it, it was Christopher Lloyd all along because he was a Dooku simp.
Why, it's Old Man Withers, the guy who runs the haunted amusement park. And I would have got away with it too if it hadn't been for you snooping kids.
He spends the rest of his time groveling to Lizzo, and we get acting that is about as good as her impulse control around a refrigerator.
Sure, he's made some mistakes in the past, but who here among us has not? Perhaps. As for now, you must live in exile on the moon of Paraquat.
Acting.
Yeah, there's no more criticizing the Star Wars Christmas special after this. And now girl boss Bo-Katan can talk to the other Mandalorians that she's mad at for stealing the stuff she stole. She challenges the leader, toxic male Mandalorian, to a fight, and because I value your life watch minutes, we'll just cut to the chase. She wins. But that's not all she wins, because voice actor Pedro Pascal hands her back the Darksaber because 4 episodes ago, she saved him from old One Eye. And Bo-Katan ignites the Darksaber, and Dave Filoni has his wet dream and Star Wars is dead. Girl Boss is now Uber Girl Boss. And if you had any doubts after episode 5, episode 6 makes it clear. This is the Woman-DeLorean. And it should be clear to anyone that 1, Disney can't produce television. 2, Jon Favreau, despite claiming that he gets zero interference from the studio, can't write episodic television. The Lucasfilm story group is filled with morons, and Mandalorian Season 3 is awful. And now Disney's flagship show that launched Disney Plus is starting to experience those diminishing returns that come with complete apathy. The Mandalorian Season 3 has experienced a significant drop in viewership compared to Season 2. Reports indicate that the show's total minutes viewed dropped by 200 million, representing a decline of about 20%. This trend concerns Disney, as The Mandalorian is their flagship show that helped launch Disney Plus. And both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have made it abundantly clear again all roads lead to Jake Skywalker. Said it before and I'll say it again, you can't put the blue milk back in the titty. And after owning the Star Wars intellectual property for over 10 years, Disney has turned it into a dead brand, and based on what Bob Iger said in his earnings call today, nothing's gonna change. As a matter of fact, as predicted, Disney's gonna double down. And as far as Disney Star Wars or Lucasfilm is concerned, books will be written someday about this complete disaster, and my only hope is one of them is titled The Woman Who Killed Star Wars. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, thanks for listening this long. I'll see you in the next video.
Nerdrotic.com